The first step in preparing a server for certificates is generating certificate signing requests. We're going to log into the Unified Communications Manager under the Operating System Administration website and generate some certificate signing requests. Log in using the username of your platform administrator and the appropriate password. You'll go to Security, Certificate Management, and the Call Manager and the Presence Server and Unity Connection all start with self-signed certificates that are generated by the system. And you'll have noticed that if you've ever logged into the system and received an error that said the certificate was invalid, and that's because we don't, by default, trust those self-signed certificates. In fact, that's the reason that we're going for CA-issued certs, is so that we can have a chain of trust created. We're going to go to Generate CSR, and there are two different certificate signing requests we're going to create. The first is for Tomcat. The second is for the Call Manager service. Now, there are different approaches you can use depending on the size of your environment and your preferences for managing certificates in that environment. If I'm in a production environment, I'm typically going to use the distribution type for Tomcat of multi-server SAN, which allows me to share one Tomcat certificate for multiple nodes. This is a great strategy when you have lots of call managers to deal with, as it's going to reduce the number of certificates that you have to manage. In this environment, I'm going to keep things simple and just use a single server certificate. So my publisher will have a Tomcat certificate and a call manager certificate. And separate from that, my IM and Presence server will have a Tomcat certificate of its own, and it will have a CUP XMPP certificate. Unity Connection will have just a Tomcat certificate. You'll notice for the Tomcat CSR, the certificate purpose we have selected is Tomcat. The distribution is the name of the server, cucmpub.cisco.lab. The common name is the name of the server, cucmpub.cisco.lab. And in the subject alternate names field, we have the parent domain, cisco.lab. These values are auto-populated for us by this CSR wizard. The key length we're going to use is 2048, and the hashing algorithm is SHA-256. Notice that SHA-1 is also supported. However, a number of certificate authorities are no longer going to be issuing SHA-1 certificates moving forward, so it's best that you generate a SHA-256 based certificate. To generate the certificate signing request, we'll leave the fields as they're currently configured and click the Generate button. It will only take a moment to generate the CSR, and you'll receive a status message that indicates Success, Certificate Signing Request Generated. I'll now want to generate a certificate signing request for the Call Manager service. I'll select the certificate purpose of Call Manager, and you'll notice on distribution there is no multi-server or SAN certificate available to us because the call managers require this particular certificate to be issued to each server individually. Luckily, in this environment, I only have one call manager. The distribution will be left at cucmpub.cisco.lab. The common name will be cucmpub.cisco.lab. The parent domain for the SAN field contains cisco.lab. Just like in the previous certificate, we identified a key length of 2048 and a hashing algorithm of SHA-256. I'll click Generate to create this certificate signing request, and when it's complete, we'll again be prompted with a status update of Success, Certificate Signing Request Generated. Now that we've generated both of our CSRs, we can download them, and we'll hang on to those to provide them to our certificate authority to generate and sign against. I'll click Close to close this window. I can click the Download CSR button, and it will prompt a JavaScript window and allow us to download the file. Alternatively, you can click Find, list the certificates that are on your server, or the CSRs, and you'll see up here the Call Manager CSR only is listed. Open it up and click Download from within that interface as well. We'll return here in just a few moments and actually perform the downloads. We can click the Download CSR button and we'll get a pop-up that allows us to download the CSRs that we have generated. You'll see we both have Call Manager and Tomcat listed. I will select the certificate purpose of Tomcat and click the Download CSR button. I have now downloaded that CSR. I will click Call Manager for the certificate purpose and click Download CSR, and now I have downloaded both of the certificate signing requests that we have generated. I will then take these CSRs to my certificate authority and have them generate the necessary certificates. Once those certificates have been generated, I'll return to the Unified Communications Manager server and apply them. Now that our certificate signing requests for Unified Communications Manager have been generated, downloaded, and provided to our certificate authority, they have issued to us certificates that we can now upload to the server. First, we're going to upload what we call trust certificates. These are certificates that we use to trust the issuer. I'm going to go to Security, Certificate Management, and I'm going to say Upload Certificate or Certificate Chain. This certificate purpose will be Tomcat Trust. I'll hit Browse, and I will browse to the folder where this certificate exists, and I will select the root certificate that has been provided by the CA. I'll hit the Upload button, and we get a success message. Success, certificate uploaded. I'm going to use the same certificate for the Call Manager Trust cert, and hit Upload, and again, success, certificate uploaded. So we now have the ability to validate certs issued by our certificate authority. I'm going to go to the Tomcat cert, hit Browse, and select the certificate that they have issued to us for Tomcat. And this is a certificate generated as a direct response to the CSRs that we generated, downloaded, and provided. I'll click Upload, and we get the message, Success, Certificate Uploaded. Restart Cisco Tomcat service using the CLI utils service restart Cisco Tomcat command. I'll actually do that here in just a moment. And in fact, what I'm going to do is restart the whole server because I'm due for a reboot anyway. But I'm going to go ahead and do the Call Manager certificate as well. So let's hit Call Manager, hit Browse, and we'll pick the Call Manager certificate that they've issued us, and I'll hit Upload. And again, we should get a success notification if everything goes as planned, and we do. Success, certificate uploaded. Now that our certificates have been uploaded to the Call Manager, I'm going to go ahead and reboot the server. Later, we'll follow this same process for the IM and Presence server and for the Unity Connection server. Now that our certificates have been applied and the server rebooted, we can validate that they're working properly. Depending on what web browser you're using, this process might vary slightly, but is very similar. I'm on Firefox on a Mac, and I can go to the left of the URL bar, and I can see the security lock. And you can see as I hover over it that it says verified by Cisco root CA. If I click on it, you'll see you are connected to cisco.lab, verified by Cisco root CA. So my certificate has been validated and is being utilized. If you get an error or a security warning, you'll want to double check and make sure that your certificate matches the validation parameters required by your CA. And keep in mind, and I mentioned this earlier on, different CAs are going to require different values in those fields, so you may have to remove or add things depending on what format your CA is creating that certificate in. I apologize, certificates are a pain in the butt. This is why. But once you get certificates generated and they're successfully validating, you're home free. It's now time to generate certificate signing requests and then certificates for our IM and Presence server. This process is going to vary slightly depending on the technique you used on the Call Manager. If you used multi-server or SAN-based certificates, you'll find that the Tomcat certificate from the call manager has replicated over to the IM and Presence server. In my environment, I'm not using multi-server or SAN-based certificates, so that will not be the case. On the IM and Presence server here, I'm going to generate certificate signing requests and then issue certificates for the Tomcat service and the CUP XMPP service. Let's start by generating the CSR for Tomcat. I'm going to actually make one modification here that's something that you may have to do, again, depending on your CA. I'm going to remove the parent domain from mine. It seems to confuse my CA. So I've got a certificate purpose of Tomcat, a distribution of imp01.cisco.lab, and the common name of imp01.cisco.lab. The key length is 2048, and the hash algorithm, again, is SHA-256. I'm going to click Generate, and this will generate the certificate signing request for Tomcat. And you'll see the status message, Certificate Signing Request Generated. Now, I'm going to generate another CSR. This one is going to be for CUP XMPP. And again, let me remove my SAN value from the auto-populated domains field if it allows me to do that. Actually, it won't allow me to do that in this example, so we'll leave it there, and hopefully my CA doesn't give me a hard time about it. Distribution, imp01.cisco.lab, and common name, imp01.cisco.lab. I'll go ahead and click Generate, and we have now generated another CSR. These two CSRs should be sufficient for the IM and Presence server. Let me go issue the certificates, and we'll come back and apply them. Now that I've restarted the server, we can validate that the certificates that I applied have worked, or at least we can validate the Tomcat one worked, because it's real easy to see it in the interface. So I've logged into the IM and Presence server, and you can see again, I have the security lock verified by Cisco root CA. We'll go ahead and open that up, and you can see that the connection to this website is secure. So we know that our Tomcat certs took, and you're going to find out later if there's problems with the XMPP cert, but you're likely just fine. So that's it for creating creating CSRs, downloading CSRs, generating certs, and installing certs. This should give you the background you need to take care of that process. In this module, we rewound and gave you a review of the reasons that we need to remove the DNS dependence from our call manager environments, and the other environments for that matter, in preparation for certificates. We talked about how certificates are used to secure the communication of Jabber for Windows as it talks to all the various back-end systems that it communicates with, including Call Manager, Unity Connection, and the IM and Presence server. We talked about generating certificate signing requests on the individual servers and what certs we need and what certs we don't, and we walked through that process. And then finally, we installed certificates and validated that they were being used properly. In the next module, we're finally ready to start playing with Jabber Client, but not before we start customizing it before we even get started. And what I mean by that is I'm going to walk you through a couple of options that you can use when preparing to deploy the Jabber for Windows client in your environment to customize it to match up to the backend server settings that you've configured. It'll be a lot of fun, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.